Hello, everybody. Mr. Seymour here. Just want to take this opportunity to say hello and welcome everybody back for the 2020-21 school year. The purpose of this message today is to add a detail to the return process and procedures for the coming school year. In the message I sent out last week, I very briefly touched on a few of those things, and the purpose of today is to really get into more detail with that. So what I'm planning to do here is I'm going to share my screen and pull up the slides that I put together to help kind of walk us through this. So just give me a moment to pull that together. And here we go. Sorry for that delay. Okay, so like I said, welcome back. Really excited about the year ahead. It promises to be a great year. You know, I think I've been really reflecting since the spring and summer on, all that we've missed out on in terms of being in person at school. And I think we've got a great opportunity to come back this fall and really make it count. So over the last week, we've been back here at school. Staff been getting ready, preparing, and adjusting to the process and procedures. We all are excited to get back. So I've been thinking a little bit about what it's going to take for us to return safely. And in this message today, I'm going to really get into this process and procedures and why we're doing certain things. And obviously those are really important, but I think just also really thinking about others working together. These are some of the things that are going to really be important parts of our successful return to school. So understanding them and then following through. I think if we can do all that, then we will really have a successful start to the school year. So I was also thinking a little bit about, well, what's going to really be new and what's going to be the same? We have been, with our families a lot, and we have been maybe with a small group of friends that we've been spending time with, but, we're going to be coming back to people that we have not been around. So that's going to be new. And we're also going to be coming back to a larger group probably than we're used to being around. On the other hand, there are some things that, even though they're new, they're really going to be things we're getting used to, right? They're going to be things that we're also seeing in the community. So some of the process and procedures are things, if you have a part-time job and you work at Market Basket, these are things you're going to be doing at work every day. If you're going into stores, you're going to be wearing masks. So something that's new, it's becoming part of our routine already. And always, we want to make sure that we're a supportive and caring community. And I think that's going to really help us to have a great start to the year. So let's get into some of the details. So one of them is that everyone is wearing a mask throughout the school day. Again, this is something that's becoming really common in the community, and our school committee has a policy that requires students, staff, parents, anyone in the building to be wearing a mask. So what this means for students is that when you ride the bus to school, you need to have a mask on. When you enter the building, you need to have a mask on. When you walk down the hall, you should have your mask on. And when you are in a classroom, you need to have your mask on. Masks need to fit well, cover your nose and mouth. Some of the masks maybe that you've been wearing aren't going to be acceptable if you've been using bandanas and gaiters and things like that. If you remove your mask in class, you should expect your teacher to speak to you about it. If this is something that repeatedly happens, you should expect to be sent to the office for us to talk with you about it. This is really important, and we take it seriously. Ultimately, you need to have a mask on throughout the day in order to be at school. So in order to support students and staff, I know that it's hard to spend a long period of time with that mask on. So we are planning regular breaks throughout the school day. So your teachers will be incorporating that into their classroom process and procedures. If you're walking outside to go to the middle school for class and you can keep yourself a 6 feet distance from others, this would be an opportunity for you to take a mask break. But remember, it's just for a moment. And when you get to the building, put it back on. If other people come around you, put your mask back on. When you're eating breakfast or lunch, is another opportunity to have your mask off. And if your teacher uses an outdoor classroom space and you guys can spread out, then that's another opportunity. So we've identified spaces in the courtyard and other places around campus where teachers can sign up and take their class outside for the period. Hand hygiene is another really important piece. Keeping your hands clean and keeping your hands from touching your face is an important part of helping prevent the spread of illness. So when you arrive in the morning at school, the first thing you're going to do is hand sanitize, meaning you're going to wash or you're going to use sanitizer, and you're going to do that frequently throughout the day. This is a classroom that happens to have a sink in it, so you could do hand washing or hand sanitizing. But what you're going to find is that hand sanitizer is readily available everywhere, every classroom, and throughout the hallways, it will be available. So 50% cohorts is another important part of the strategy in order to keep our social distance. This allows less students in the halls, classrooms, cafeterias, and buses. Here are a few pictures from some of the classrooms where we have removed a significant amount of furniture to allow to be spread out. And again, you can see that pretty easily from the picture. I just want to point out that while the grade level cohorts are pretty much 50-50, as you start looking at class by class, it's really not going to be 50 on one day and 50% on the other, because when you take those percentages and then you start spreading them across all the sections in the master schedule, and then you've got classes that might have a few freshmen, a few sophomores, and you've got mixed levels, what's going to happen is, it's not going to be exactly 50-50. But our objective is to reduce the number of kids in the class so that we can really spread out. And so we're keeping a close eye on what those numbers look like so that we can keep true to what we're trying to accomplish. Social distancing, I showed you pictures of classrooms. So you're going to have an assigned seat. That's where you're going to sit for the period. And so we know you will be at least 6 feet apart from others. We really need students' help in those in-between times. So when you're walking from class to class, on your way to the cafeteria, whatever it might be, we need you guys to be proactive and make sure that you're keeping your social distance. Again, adults, myself, others will be around, and if we see you grouping up, we're gonna ask you to spread apart, and we're gonna keep reminding you that you need to keep your social distance. The cafeteria process is gonna be different as well this year. With our 50% student attendance, and then we're gonna spread that out over 3 lunches, we're going to be able to reduce the number of students in each lunch. And we have limited social distance seating in the cafeteria, and we also have some overflow places as well. So when you go into the caf, you'll see designated places where you can sit. We also need to know who's sitting where. So there's a process you're going to follow where you're going to scan a QR code, take you to a spreadsheet, and you simply enter your name and the seat that you sat in. It should take just a moment. Here are just a couple of pictures of the caf. You can see that if you look closely, there's some stickers on seats indicating these are seats you can sit in. Students will sit on one side of the table. Here's a close-up. And then on that table in front of you would be the little QR code that says you're sitting in seat number 10 or whatever it might be. Bathrooms are another place where we need to monitor for social distancing. So we've put capacity limits and signs on all of the bathroom doors. So if you arrive to the bathroom and there are 2 people already there, you can wait in the hallway, and when someone walks out, it's your turn. There is no food or drink in classrooms. We are keeping our masks on in classrooms. So the only thing that we would allow is water, and then if the student is having a mask break, that would be the opportunity to have a drink. If you have class at the middle school, and there still are some classes at the middle school, just want everybody to know that they want you to enter through the front door. So make sure you make your way around to the front and follow all of the patterns and procedures that they have there. And if you end up in a place where you're not supposed to be and someone corrects you, please just simply thank them for pointing that out and head where you need to be. We want to make sure we're always making a good impression when we're over at the middle school. For parents who are coming to school, so say you need to come and drop something off for your child, we have a small process that just helps to eliminate one trip in and out of the building. So you can clearly mark whatever that item is and leave it on the shelf right outside the front door. Let us know it's there, and we'll make sure it gets to the student. If you're coming in for a meeting, you can park in the visitor section of the new parking lot. After getting buzzed in, just check in at the guidance office if that's where your meeting is, or the main office, and then we will contact whoever you're meeting with, and they'll come up and show you where to go. A few other changes just to point out is that physical education classes will only do their physical activity outside, not inside. Band, wind instruments, and the chorus will only play their instruments outside, not inside. So when they are unable to do that outside, those classes will have other activities that they'll do. We're not assigning students lockers in the hallways, and we're not using the PE or athletic locker rooms either. Keep an eye out for capacity limits in other places, for instance, the guidance office. We don't want to overcrowd the guidance office if there are multiple students that need to come. So just look for those capacity limits posted. Cleaning process. So extra staff will be working throughout the school day just to help with ongoing cleaning of frequently used surfaces, bathrooms, and things like that. Each night, The entire building will be thoroughly cleaned and sanitized using the fogging and disinfectant process. And here's a picture of one of our custodians in the middle of that process. That spray is applied to all surfaces, and when it dries, everything is clean and ready to go. Another thing to just mention is that we have an active construction project going on all around the building. You see that when you drive up in front, and there's a lot of activity happening behind. So there's a no-fly zone for construction vehicles between 7 and 8 a.m. and between 2 and 3 p.m., which are our heavy arrival and departure times here at school. But if you're coming onto campus between 8 a.m. and 2, just be extra careful and cautious for vehicles that are around. Here's a picture of what's happening out back. Again, it's easy to see what's happening in front, but in the rear of the building, they're actively working on the foundations. So just a couple of comments about the traffic flow. Again, because of the parking lot relocation, it's going to look a little bit differently. All vehicles will still enter campus through the same entrance, which is where the electronic sign is. And then after that, it'll be slightly different. So buses are going to drive up and try to drop off students between the goalposts and the middle school, just keeping them a little bit further up the driveway. And then we want cars dropping off students to come into the circle, drop off, and then they're going to exit through the new parking lot. And obviously students that are going to be parking or staff parking will enter the lot and park in their assigned space. So just have two pictures here to help explain that a little bit further. So our goal is to keep the buses further up the driveway and then keep the drop off and parking to the east of that. And hopefully that will make things just a little bit more simple. And then here is a look at the same picture, but for car drop off, again, driving in the same entrance, going up, dropping off in the circle, and then coming back out and working through the parking lot. There will be staff around to direct traffic and help maintain the flow here and help explain how things are going to go. And there will be a crossing guard out at Route 113 to help that, getting onto the road to be as easy as possible. Couple of comments about orientation. So September 10th and 11th, we will have students here for orientation. We're not doing a separate freshman orientation this year. We're doing orientation for all students because there's a lot of new, and we want to be able to have the opportunity to explain that. So when students come to school, they're going to go to homeroom, get some information, get some initial directions, and then they're going to follow their schedule for the day. It's a half day of school with shortened periods. And throughout the day, we will be meeting with each grade to further review this information. So I also want to just point out there are some students who are not in A, C, or B cohorts. Students in cohort D, staff will be reaching out with information about orientation. So even though you're not coming in for that day, we will be reaching out with information about how to get started for the new school year. The final thought that I have is just that we're all in this together. That's a phrase you hear a lot right now, but it's really true. And I think if we work together and we help each other to follow these processes and procedures, then we'll be off to a great start this year. So remember, lead with kindness, set a great example. And if you're struggling with something, please let someone know. Talk to your teacher, talk to your guidance counselor, come in and see myself or one of the other administrators so that we can find out how we can best support you so that, again, we get everybody off to a great start this year. So I'm just going to go back, stop the sharing of the screen, and give you just a final word, which is thanks for listening. Look forward to seeing everybody real soon. Take care.